I mean, it's not as impressive without all the Blu-rays there. It's not a lot I can do about it. We just found out we're moving on January the 2nd, so, right after Christmas and New Year. So we're packing at the moment. Yay!
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring amongst others Emily Blunt, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Emily Mortimer, Julie Walters and Colin Firth. Directed by Rob Marshall off of a screenplay by David McGee. This is my review for Mary Poppins Returns. Mary Poppins Returns picks up after the events of the first movie. The children have all grown up now. Michael is a father himself and he's got 3 young children. His wife's just died. His sister is still on hand to help him out, but things are getting pretty dire. He's due to lose the house at the end of the week unless he can find something left behind by his dad, George Banks. He's looking for documentation to prove that he owns shares in the bank, and it's the bank that's trying to take his house. And then Mary Poppins swoops in just to make everything that little bit more crazy. So the first Mary Poppins movie, I watched again recently, and it's very reliant on nostalgia, I think, in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things about that movie that are good, but it's a bit of a slog at times. I still love it because it's Mary Poppins, but watching it back, it's a bit more challenging to sit through than it was when I was watching it as a kid. And this one kind of falls into that same category for me, I think. There is a ton about this movie that I liked. I mean, visually, we'll get there. But there's a lot about it I liked, but there's a lot about it that I didn't so much dislike, but it just felt like there was something missing. And that played through my head a lot. It felt like it was close to being something truly magical and special, but it just didn't have enough behind it just to tip it over the edge to make it as good as it could be. But as I say, a lot I did like. Performance-wise, great across the board here, really. Emily Blunt is a bit of a different Mary Poppins to Julie Andrews. She plays it in a different sort of way, while at the same time you can see that this is still the same character. It's still Mary Poppins, even if there is something just a little bit different about her, but I quite like the fact that they did that. There's a lot of this movie that could have just relied on nostalgia, really. It could have just played to moments that we knew from the first movie and just done them slightly differently. And there's a degree of that here, but for the most part it feels like its own thing, and that seems to have been led by the top by Emily Blunt, who didn't just want to mimic what had come before. She wanted to put her own stamp on it. And I really liked her in this one. I liked her as the character. I think she got all the little nuances of Mary Poppins down. Sort of the charm, the wonder about her. It was all there. And as I say, while adding something different to the proceedings as well. A very interesting take on the character, and I say, yeah, I really, really liked her, as I did for pretty much all of the cast in this one. Lin-Manuel Miranda is great. There's something really likeable about that guy, and he's very likeable in this too. Like, he lights up the screen with his smile. He's such a great actor. He's such a great performer, and he was exactly the sort of role needed in this. Ben Whishaw is really, really good here as Michael Banks, as is Emily Mortimer as Jane Banks. The two of them, obviously they can't feel like the same characters from the first one because they're children, but it's not unbelievable to assume that they grew up and became these people. I really liked them. I liked the dynamic between them. I liked the fact that they were both doing their own things, even if Jane's story that she had didn't really feel like it came to anything. It felt like they gave her a story just for the sake of it, but there was never a great deal in the way of payoff for her story. But I liked them. I liked them both. And the kids in this one as well, for the most part, were pretty good. There was some moments, quite a few with one of the children who I won't name because I don't want to be mean. It's Christmas. But there were a few moments where the acting wasn't quite where it should be, but it wasn't a continuous problem. It wasn't something that was movie ruining. It was just the odd moment here and there, but for the most part I think they handled themselves well, and they did a pretty good job with the material they were given here, because they were in a lot of the scenes. They have to do a lot of crazy things, and they have to make it believable, and I think they did. And yeah, visually this is a treat as well. There's a lot about this movie and how it looks that is just gorgeous to look at. It recaptures a lot of the feel aesthetically of the first Mary Poppins while adding new things to it as well, but it feels like definitely a continuation of what we saw before visually, and that's particularly true when it comes to the animation sequence. And I am so pleased that they kept this 2D animation. They kept what looks like hand-drawn animation in this again, because not only did it remind me of Mary Poppins, but it's just so nice to see that kind of artistry used in a film. Everything's so CG heavy now. Like Disney have long since abandoned that kind of animation style when it comes to their cartoons now. It's all very CGI heavy, and I would have hated it if this had become a CG movie as well. Obviously there is CG, but for the animation, I mean, it was just a really nice touch to have that same style, to make it seem old school, while at the same time feeling fresh. The animation in this is used very differently to the first movie, but sort of style-wise, yeah, loved it. And Mary Poppins Returns is a great deal of fun as well. There is a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of crazy sequences that take place here that just kind of get your eyes trying to catch everything that's happening on the screen. It's kind of infectious at times as well. There are a few moments and a couple of songs here and there that really just made me smile, made me feel like I was watching something that's genuinely entertaining. And Mary Poppins Returns is that. But speaking of the songs, this is kind of where some of my problems start to come in. I don't think the songs in this one were anywhere near as good as the ones in the first. It's going to be difficult to because they are classics, but perhaps it's better to say there were none that were overly catchy. To say there were a couple of songs that I did like, but none of them are really stuck in my head anymore. As soon as I watch Mary Poppins, like Spoonful of Sugar, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, they get stuck in my head and it's hard to get rid of them. But there was nothing in this film at all, song-wise, that I remember now. And that's not to say that they were bad, it's not to say that they were boring songs, but there was just something lacking with them. And that sums up my thoughts of Mary Poppins Returns as a whole, actually. As I said towards the start, it did feel like there was something not quite there with the movie. Something that didn't quite make it reach where it could reach. And it's a very difficult thing to try and convey, to try and get across, because I don't really know what that thing is. It's just a feeling that I've got. It's a feeling where I came out of it just thinking, yeah, I had a good time with this, like it's a nice movie, but it wasn't amazing. And perhaps the problem was that I just wanted it to be amazing. I wanted it to be incredible. I wanted it to recapture that feeling I had as a kid watching the original Mary Poppins, and that perhaps is too much of an expectation to put on this film. But if it's the kind of movie that kids watch now, like kids of today will watch this and come away with that same magical feeling that I had with the original, I really hope that is the case. Because I think every generation needs a Mary Poppins, and the 1960s one will always be a great film in my eyes, even though, as I say, watching it back I can see its problems. We haven't had another one of them since then, so I think it is time for another generation to get a new Mary Poppins film. And while this one didn't quite work for me in all of the ways that I was hoping it would, I think it should do enough to spark something in children's imaginations. I hope that it does enough to be something that they remember and they show their children. If it can do that, then it's a success, no doubt. Even if, as I say, the movie as a whole isn't one I love, but I did very much like. And how great to see Dick Van Dyke again as well. I won't spoil the sequence that he appears in, but it's pretty obvious that he appears. I think he's been in the marketing for it. I hope he has, because I'm talking about it. But yeah, really good to see him. I mean, for the age that this guy is, he's still got so much energy about him. I love Dick Van Dyke. I'm so glad they got him back for this. It's a shame Julie Andrews said no. I sort of see her reasoning for not doing a cameo in this one, but it's a shame. It would have been really nice to see her, particularly when Dick Van Dyke's in this, and the actress who played the original Jane is in this as well. It just seemed a bit glaring that Julie Andrews said no to it. But on the whole, Mary Poppins Return is a movie that I'm glad I saw. I definitely think it's something you should see, particularly if you've got kids. You can take them along and watch it. I think there'll be lots of sequences in this that they'll really, really enjoy. And even though it does run, I think, a little bit long, the pacing is a bit of a problem every now and then. There are moments where this lags, and those songs don't quite live up to what they could have been. Still a great time, still a lot for people to enjoy. Highly recommend seeing it. I'm going to give Mary Poppins Returns a 7 out of 10. Have you seen Mary Poppins Returns yet? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And would you like to see some other old school movies get a sequel all these years later? I mean, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang for me is one that be interesting to see what they did with that, but also I don't want them to touch it. I'm very conflicted, but let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. As I say, apologies again about the background on this. I like having all the Blu-rays in the background, but because I'm moving I can't, so it's a very boring backdrop for the next probably couple of weeks actually, so I apologise about that. But as soon as I'm in the new place, we should be all set up, we should be good to go. It may also mean there's going to be a few less videos over the next week or two, but it's Christmas and New Year to be expected. I still want to get a Christmas video done at some point. I don't know if I'm going to have the time now with everything that's come up, but I will be doing my best of and worst of movies list for 2018. That will be coming soon. We're still not done with the movies for the year yet. Holmes and Watson is out on Boxing Day. I'm going to try and see that at some point next week, so look out for a review for that too. Do hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of them. Please do follow me on Twitter as well, @JoeJulians. Come on there, talk to me, distract me from how stressful things are at the moment. I really hate packing. Honestly, putting the Blu-rays in a box feels like I'm packing away children. I miss them so much already, even though they're literally in those boxes there. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.